Good evening, students. So, today we are going to study the poem The Female of the Species by Gauri Deshpande. And again, I repeat, as I did in the last video that I had uploaded, that you must have the text open before you. So, please identify the text of the poem in the PDF that I shared in the Semester 4 AEC Alternative English group and follow the text as I teach it. So Gauri Deshpande, I think you might not have heard of her. So she was a Marathi poet, but she has also written in English. And I am not getting into the background because you are anyway not going to require it. So the female of the species. This is a poem on female bonding, and as I read through the poem, you will understand how this can be taken as a feminist reflection on the importance uh, of mutual support and understanding between women and the inadequacy of having men for an understanding and sympathetic uh, response to women's day-to-day ordeals. So the poem is titled "The Female of the Species." Species, of course, is human species. Now, why does she use the word species? There is a heightened irony in the use of this word because it's only in the human species that the women and the men are socially segregated. They have different worlds, different spaces. Of course, that is now breaking down, and why should I say breaking down? That has broken down to a large extent. Now we cannot say that um, women are women are legitimately tied to the domestic space, and women are not supposed to be out of the house because um, actually the society, the human society in all countries has evolved quite a bit. There has been significant um, change in our perception of gender binaries. But she was writing, when Deshpande was writing this poem, Indian society was still quite orthodox. And even today, if you go to the villages or even to the suburbs, if you interact with women who are not working, then you will be able to identify with much of the observations made in this poem. I have both working women and housewives in my own family, and I have seen how their experiences vary. So this poem is mostly about women who are tied to or confined to the domestic space, and only humans have this discrimination based on spaces, because in all other animal species there is no specific or separate world for the female species. A tiger hunts, a tigress also hunts. An ox roams around in the streets, a cow also roams around in the streets. The same goes with the dog, with the cat. So there's no difference in the male and female of the species. It's only humans who make this discrimination. Sometimes you want to talk about love and despair and the ungratefulness of children. Who is this you? This you is, of course, the reader, and in this case, it's more than evident that this you refers to a female reader. So the poet is a woman speaking to another woman. She presupposes that the reader is going to be a woman, a female poet addressing a female reader. Sometimes you want to talk about love and despair. Love and despair are the two sides of life, the bright and dark aspects of human life. So sometimes you want to talk about your joys and sorrows and the ungratefulness of children. Ungratefulness of children is the eternal complaint of the mother, also of the parent in general, because often fathers also complain that their children have been ungrateful, but it's mostly the mother who suffers from this ingratitude. A man is no use whatever then. So, the emotional distance between man and woman. A man is not the right person to whom a woman can bear her hurt and share with her mirth and misery, because they are they are divided by their typical different psychologies. You want then your mother or sister or the girl with whom you went through school and your first love and her first child, a girl, and your second. So this part harps on female bonding. So a woman, when she seeks to share his moments of mirth and misery, she tries to find another woman and not a man. So she tries to find her mother, a sister. Why mother? Because her mother has gone through the same ordeals and her mother has seen her growing up from her childhood. So her mother is the best person to know what, where her agony lies and what solution she can think of. Sister is also the one with whom she has shared her private space during her childhood. So this is the female bonding within the family. Or the girl with whom you went through school, not went to school, but went through school means with whom you studied right up to your final exam. That is, right up to the last day of your school. So, the best friend that you had in your school, and that was not a boy but a girl. And your first love. Now, normally, we assume that a human being is straight, or in more official terms, heterosexual. But this assumption is also not always true. Is the poet suggesting that the first love, unbeknown to the girl, was another friend? Who knows? See, the Indian society was so conservative at some point of time, even as late as the 80s and 90s when I was growing up. It was so conservative that homosexuality was a taboo topic. And while many gays and lesbians used to keep their orientation secret, there were also many people who were not even conscious of the fact that inwardly they were oriented towards their own sex. So a man marries a woman. That's the tradition. A man completes his studies, gets a job, marries a woman. Deep down, he is he is in love with a man, or he has this unconscious um, unconscious feeling which he cannot make sense of, about feeling drawn towards men. So these things have been happening. So and This reminds me of that famous novel by Sharat Chandra, Srikanto. See, in the novel, if you have read the novel, I mean, there are quite a few Bengalis in the class, and it's one of the most renowned and popular and widely read novels in Bengali literature. So, if you have read Srikanto, in the novel itself, you will never find any hint of any homosexual bonding, or homoerotic bonding. That's the right word, because the word sexual often brings in the idea of physical relation. So homoerotic bonding between Indranath and Srikanto. It's just friendship. There's a there's a very close bond between the two friends. But is it something more than mere friendship? There's there's a novel by Shibram. Shibram Chakraborty is mostly known as a children's author, as a comic writer, and I bet that most of you have read his um, comic stories when you were children. But Shibram has also written one novel, that is Chele Boyeshe. It is one of the early novels in Bengali literature which deal with the theme of homosexuality. And in the beginning of the novel, he talks about the possibility of an unconscious love that Srikanto harbored deep in his heart for Indranath. And when he sent that novel to Sharat Chandra, the senior author, for his perusal, and he also requested Sharat Chandra to write a preface or a foreword to that novel, Sharat Chandra refused. He dispensed with his task by writing a very brief um, foreword, uh, and he was quite dismissive of the theme. Uh, so, and Because I just took a detour and referred to this theme, I would like to mention one more thing. You might not have heard the of the movement called radical lesbians. Radical lesbian is a portmanteau. As you can understand, it's a neologism derived by punching the two words radical and lesbian. Radical lesbian. So the radical lesbian movement claimed that a man is not the right person to love a woman, because a man can never fathom the psychological depth and complexity of a woman. So the right person who is eligible to love a woman is actually another woman. I don't remember um, the name of the poet, but Taslima Nasreen, the controversial author and poet, a professed feminist, she had once translated one of the radical lesbian poems in one of her essays, and there she wrote this line, Nari chhara kar sadhyo narike amul bhalobashe. So you just go online and check um, about the radical lesbian movement. I think you would be enriched. Her first child, a girl, and your second. So perhaps the poet is suggesting that the first child of the reader's friend was a girl, and the reader herself had always been eager to bear a girl child, but unfortunately she had to wait until her second pregnancy. So she was momentarily jealous of her her school friend who had a girl child as her firstborn. So you see, a mother a mother sees her child as distinct but not different. So the child is like an extension of her own self. And the Bengali word for a mother's affection is momota. So momota, if you break down the word, momo means my. So momota means myness. So that's the secret of the mother's love for the child. And a boy, a male child, a male baby, despite being the mother's extension, cannot be the exact replica of the mother, because after all he is a boy. So an exact reflection the mother can see only in a girl child. Probably that's the implication of the poet, and that's why the reader who who was waiting for a girl child wants to speak about the girl child to her friend. You sit with them and talk. She sews and you sit and sip and speak of the rate of rice and the price of tea and the scarcity of kerosene. So these are shared household activities that bind the women. So the house as the woman's own space where women can act and speak freely and forge a bond among themselves without male intervention. So sewing, sipping tea, of course, sipping tea here, rate of rice. So a woman is in custody of the chicken. I'm sorry, not chicken. I'm so sorry. Kitchen. Price of tea, scarcity of kerosene. So the kitchen, the hearth. So the bond between the relation between woman and food, woman and culinary, that is stressed here. You know both that you have spoken of love and despair and ungrateful children. So once the conversation between the women is over, they leave with the satisfaction that now they have lighter hearts. Moral support has been extended to each other. There is a mental satisfaction after having a fruitful interaction, which was not possible between a man and a woman. So this poem talks of female bonding, this poem talks of female resilience, this poem talks of a private space for women without male intervention. But at the end of the day, I personally feel that this poem also ends up reinforcing the binary of spaces, that men should be the one to work outside, and the legitimate space of the woman is inside the household. She doesn't have an identity beyond the family and the hearth. So the poem, despite its feminist tone, remains open to criticism. Thank you.